Hello everyone, welcome to Diplomatic Briefing. The U.S. Embassy in Panama stated that the U.S. government will cooperate with Panama's Ministry of Public Security to install 7 new telecommunications towers using secure American technology over the next 2 years, replacing the previously installed Huawei equipment. The U.S. Embassy also said that the U.S. is working hard to counter China's negative influence in the Western Hemisphere, aiming to make the Americas stronger and safer. Panamanian President Mulino responded by saying that he urges the U.S. Embassy to stop making unilateral public statements about the independent decisions made by the Panamanian government. The U.S. has no right to comment on the decisions of the Panamanian government. When asked about the situation, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson郭嘉昆responded that the U.S. has long been conducting surveillance, monitoring, and cyber attacks in Latin America and the Caribbean, bringing negative influence to the Western Hemisphere and making countries in the Americas feel insecure. China has always supported Latin American and Caribbean countries, including Panama, in upholding independence and autonomy, and opposes hegemony, bullying, and external interference. China engages in friendly cooperation with Latin American and Caribbean countries, always adhering to the principles of mutual respect, equality and mutual benefit, openness and inclusiveness, and win-win cooperation. China has never sought spheres of influence, does not engage in geopolitical competition, and certainly does not coerce other countries to take sides.郭嘉昆emphasized that Latin America and the Caribbean are not anyone's backyard. The U.S. should stop acting high and mighty, stop politicizing economic, trade, and technology issues, stop interfering in other countries' internal affairs and undermining their sovereignty and independence, stop forcing other countries to take sides, and restricting dialogue and cooperation. Instead, it should focus more on promoting regional peace, stability, development, and prosperity. Since the U.S. can't block China's development in areas like tariffs, trade, and high-tech, it's been pressuring its allies everywhere to replace China's high-quality products. Previously, the U.S. had already asked the EU to join it in blocking Huawei, but each European country has its own plans and they haven't reached a consensus. Now, the U.S. is stirring things up in Latin America again. Actually, when it comes to security, it's already public knowledge that the U.S. used Danish telecom equipment to eavesdrop on European leaders' mobile phone communications. But up till now, neither the U.S. nor Europe has been able to find any concrete evidence that Huawei's telecom products pose any real security risks. The U.S. often rallies its allies to confront China, but on one hand, their reasoning isn't strong enough, and on the other hand, sometimes the U.S. itself continues to do business with China while demanding that its allies not cooperate with China. For example, U.S. politicians have repeatedly criticized Hungary for restricting trade relations with China, which has caused dissatisfaction on the Hungarian side. Recently, Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán emphasized in an interview that China has made huge investments in Hungary and that the U.S. cannot do business with China on one hand, while on the other hand asking Hungary not to trade with China. On June 13, Orbán's official YouTube channel released an exclusive interview. Orbán told the host that China has made many investments in Hungary. He said that they have also called on the U.S. to invest in Hungary, but American investment is very limited. He added that trade is beneficial for their country, but the U.S. should not try to tell them not to develop trade with China, especially when the U.S. itself is also trading with China. He said what he meant was that the U.S. should also do business with Hungary and provide good job opportunities for them, just like China does. He said, in my opinion, we should separate national security and military matters from business, trade, and the economy. Orbán emphasized that Hungary's official policy is to balance both East and West, welcoming investment from both Western and Eastern countries. He said that Hungary has a large industrial base, so in Hungary's strategy, the country is an ideal meeting point for investment from both Eastern and Western companies. They can cooperate well here, and this is a huge advantage they do not want to give up. Since the beginning of this year, American politicians have repeatedly called for Hungary to reduce its dependence on China. On April 15, Robert Palladino, the charge d'affaires at the U.S. Embassy in Hungary, said at a conference in Budapest that President Trump's stance is very clear: China poses a strategic challenge to the U.S. and our allies, and these challenges require vigilance, transparency, and unity. 10 days later, Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., also went to Budapest, hyping up the so-called China threat even more than Russia and urging Hungary to cooperate with the US to reduce risks. And getting rid of dependence on China is the first step. However, even Bloomberg, an American media outlet, admitted that such remarks might upset Hungary and other Eastern European countries, since these countries have all opened their doors to Chinese investment. Hungarian Foreign Minister Szijjarto revealed earlier this January that China is Hungary's largest foreign investor in 2024, accounting for nearly half of the country's total annual investment. In addition, in 2023, China was also Hungary's largest trading partner outside the EU, with bilateral trade reaching $14.5 billion. In the same year, trade between the US and Hungary was about $13.9 billion. Previously, when Orbán was interviewed by the media, he also expressed dissatisfaction with American investment. In February this year, on the Good Morning Hungary program, he said that during the period when the Democrats were in power, Chinese investment in Hungary surpassed that of the US, which was unprecedented, and of course, this is very good. But where did the American investment go? We need these investments, so we hope these agreements can solve this problem. On May 15, the Hungarian government and Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer BYD signed a strategic cooperation agreement at the Hungarian Prime Minister's office. BYD officially announced the establishment of its European headquarters in Budapest, as well as a new European R&D center. At the press conference held after the signing of the agreement, Orbán said that the world is in an era of transformation, with new technologies, new consumer demands, and new manufacturers emerging one after another. China is at the forefront of electric vehicle technology, and engaging in strategic cooperation with China will help lead Hungary into a new era of electric vehicle technology. He said that in recent years, China has repeatedly become Hungary's largest source of foreign investment, which means that Chinese investment has become an important, even indispensable, engine for Hungary's economic growth. In conclusion, the United States is a typical example of double standards. It's a case of the magistrate is allowed to set fires, but the common people can't even light a lamp. The US can freely discuss trade cooperation with China, but when its allies, like European countries, have close dealings with China, the US singles them out for criticism. Moreover, Europe's attitude towards China is not only influenced by anti-China media, but also by its inability to let go of its sense of superiority. Recently, the travel experiences of a European parliamentarian in China have attracted attention. Lately, Martin Sonneborn, a member of the European Parliament, shared his experience of taking the high-speed rail in China, sparking heated discussions among netizens on social media. The number of likes has already surpassed 16,000. Some people even exclaimed that our Europeans' understanding of China is completely distorted. China actually belongs to the future. The story goes that he shared his experience of taking the high-speed rail. On June 12, Sonneborn wrote on the X platform, saying, "At this moment, I am on a train from Beijing to Hong Kong. The train departed on time, covering a total distance of 2,439 kilometers, and the journey takes 8 hours and 10 minutes. It's 38 degrees Celsius outside, but inside the train, it's a comfortable 25 degrees. The attendants bring tea, and after every stop, they mop the floor with a wet mop to keep it clean. My department manager is using a mobile app to order Chinese food, and the hot meal will be delivered right to our seats at the next station." In the end, Sonneborn sighed and said, "We are slowly becoming disconnected from reality." After hearing Sonneborn's account, many German netizens praised China's high-speed rail, but they also couldn't help but pour cold water on him, saying that when he tries the same journey back in Germany, this futuristic trip will probably turn out to be just a dream. After all, here with us, even having network coverage inside the train carriage is a luxury. Many netizens who have lived in China before could really relate to Sonneborn's experience. One netizen said, "Just 2 weeks ago when we were in China, we had a similar experience. It was really amazing, felt just like a dream to us. Wish you a pleasant journey." After reading all this heated discussion, you'll notice that high-speed rail, which is such a normal part of daily life for people in China, has actually sparked a huge reaction on overseas social media. For example, one netizen said, "Sounds really great. So what are the actual accommodation conditions and the social credit system like? It's said that the 15-minute convenience circle has already been achieved. Are these things real, or just urban legends? Another netizen said, I have a friend who recently went to Guangzhou, and what he saw and experienced there left me speechless. Our understanding of China as Europeans is completely distorted. A Vietnamese friend once said, China is a country that belongs to the future. Some netizens also say that China is at least 50 years ahead of us. Who would ever get off a train like that? Is this a dream or what? Does it really exist? But there are also some netizens who are clearly trapped in the anti-China information bubble of Western media, taking the opportunity to criticize Solborn. Some people kindly reminded him to be careful of agents following him. Some people also brought up China's human rights issues. There was another comment that was actually quite funny. A netizen wrote, "This is probably just a luxury that only rich people in China can afford." This netizen seemed unable to imagine that facilities in China could be so convenient. They even commented, "I find it hard to believe this is the standard for ordinary people in China." However, that comment was quickly refuted. The reply said, "Which century are you living in? In China, there are 8 million people taking high-speed trains running over 250 kilometers per hour every day, while in Germany, only about 280,000 people take high-speed rail. Even in terms of population ratio, Chinese people now take high-speed trains much more frequently than Germans." The conclusion is that some Europeans are stuck in their old ways of thinking, which doesn't help them break through their development bottleneck. Therefore, it also proves that China unilaterally offering visa-free entry to other countries not only helps boost tourism, but also allows more foreigners to experience China firsthand. And with the popularity of social media nowadays, more foreign travelers, just like this European parliamentarian, can share their experiences online, allowing people overseas to discover the real China. Hello everyone, I'm from Bastille Post. Besides having videos on YouTube, we also have videos available on another platform called Secliu TV. Secliu TV offers a lot of exclusive content, and we welcome viewers from around the world to subscribe. Just search for Bastille Post online, and you can find Secliu TV on the Bastille Post website. Producing content requires resources, so we hope everyone will support Bastille Post by subscribing to Secliu TV. With your support, we can keep making programs. Please support Bastille Post and subscribe to Secliu TV. With your support, we can continue to produce shows. Thank you everyone.